Hello and welcome back to the ministry. Today's topic, we're talking about what are you willing to let go of in order to receive what it is that God is trying to give you. I remember many years ago, God has had me go through multiple processes of releasing things. I've lost clothes. I've released money. I remember when all I had was change in my pocket and I would drop it into the giving basket. What little you have, would you be willing to give it away? I've always been a giver. Give. Gotta be a giver. What are you willing to give? What are you willing to release and let go of? What are you willing? I did a broadcast a while ago where I talked about diet. I know my diet. I know what my body can take and I know what my body cannot take. I'm in a season right now where me and the Lord are kind of like, well, I eat what I can and what I have access to because I'm still in my manna season. But the Lord makes sure that I have healthy food alternatives in order to operate with things in which I am seeking for my diet. And it works for my diet. But what are you willing to let go of? Some of us, and I've talked about how sometimes you have bad eating habits. They stem from your parents. They stem from the way that your parents taught you to eat. I used to watch how my mother ate, and I used to eat just like she did, but I couldn't eat as much as she did, so I usually ended up with plates full of food that I would have to eat off of over time. And it comes from always feeling like you're never going to have enough, so you got to save everything. And I realized that I was doing that for years, but God, what he will do is when I started to give my life to God, he started to show me, what are you willing to let go of? So he taught me how to let go of things, let go of clothes, let go of things. But I still had that tendency to accumulate. And over the years, what he's done in seasons that I was not supposed to take what I had with me, he would just let it go. Meaning what was causing me to be able to maintain and keep it would no longer be there to help me maintain and keep it. And only for me to discover later, did you really need that? Now there were things that I left in places that I wish I had taken because looking back, certain notebooks, certain clothing, certain things, it wasn't much, but had I taken it with me, wouldn't have felt as bad as it going. Certain things that I spent money on that were in relation to my business that I didn't bring with me. Documentations and stuff like that. But I still have the actual physical documents, so that's actually not true. But yeah, there are things that God will have you let go of. Either you gonna let it go, or he's gonna force it out your hands. He prefers that you willingly release it, because if he forces it out your hands, it's gonna be ugly. And we go through this process where we have to learn how to let go of things. But my pastor was talking about this a few months back, and we've all seen it, the meme. Yep, it was my pastor's wife. It's the meme of Jesus with the very huge teddy bear. And the little girl who's holding the teddy bear that's smaller than the one that he has behind his back. Matter of fact, actually, is about anywhere from 4 times smaller than the one that he has behind his back. And he said, I need you to give me the one that you have, and I'm going to give you this. How often do we do that to God? How often do we think we know and can trust God, or don't trust God? We call ourselves trusting God, but we don't trust God with everything that we have and being willing to release and let it go. Even the thing that we are afraid to let go of. Sometimes the Lord has to get on me because I let go of so much stuff that he be like, I didn't tell you to let go of that. I'm hearing a line from the Pussycat Dolls song. Wait a minute. At the end of the song, Nicole Schwartzinger says, No, wait, give me that back. Who was that I was listening to was talking about? Oh, Tiffany Montgomery was talking about that last night. She was talking about our possessions. Us willingly releasing things that we're supposed to keep a hold of. I'm going to make a point with that since I'm here. I wasn't planning to talk about that. Sometimes what the Lord will do is he will test you. I was talking about this in the previous broadcast, that God will test you to see if you will follow or do what he's saying. But now understanding what I was reading in my article I wrote last year, God will test you by giving you a thing. And that thing won't be the thing that he wants you to have, but it gives you the structure necessary in order to build the thing that he has for you. I remember one time, lie to you not, there was a woman's book. I read it. And she had a company. I went and I looked at her platform, of the way that she had her company structured for online platform. And I was like, this would be so much better if X, Y, and Z. So what I did was I went on the application I used to build my websites and I structured it the way that this thing should have looked. And I did it for her website, meaning I had all intentions, because the woman worked in the same city. And this is a lesson to you in being obedient and willing to pursue. I restructured her entire system. Did the entire system restructure of what I felt that the thing should look like. I went and created contractual agreement that if the person decided that they wanted it, I was going to go. And I even looked at bus routes to get to this woman's company. This is how serious I was. Because at the very least, if she didn't want it, I might have been able to get a job out of that. This is what you call passionate determination. Remember when we were talking about hunger the other day? Yeah. Well, what the Lord did was he did not allot me the ability to make that work. He didn't. I wrote her. She never responded. I did all of this kind of stuff because I wanted to get in with her. She never came back to me. But what ended up coming from that is this. That when you are determined, sometimes you're thinking too small. You're thinking, oh, I just give it to this person. And my coach was talking about this last night. She said it this way. We are people that have a tendency that we have a gift of help. So if we see a problem, we solve it, and we want to go and help this person. And sometimes the Lord is saying that just because you have the gift of helps, you does not mean that you should be walked over or you have to give it away for free. I would have gave that woman that thing. I would have freely gave it to her. But you know what the Lord told me later on? The very thing that I developed using the structure I saw to develop for her platform, he told me, now use it for you. I was like, excuse me? He said, use what you were going to give to her and structure it for you, which only meant create a duplicate site, because the site that I had, you can just duplicate the site, pull and convert. So I didn't even have to do something completely brand new. I just had to convert, pull what was there and convert it for myself. I did that. God has shown me so many different things I can't even talk about yet. He showed me. He made it easier for me. A lot of times, God's like, I want to give you this big thing. But we're holding on to, well, I just want to create this and help somebody else with it. And something I forgot to mention in the last broadcast, that sometimes we'll get an idea for a company. We'll develop it, we'll present it, we'll go through the steps for it, we'll figure out the revenue projections and all of this kinds of stuff, and God's sitting up there trying to tell you, do you realize that you can do that for you? And the reason that I haven't allowed you to do that is because that's too big for you to do by yourself. Remember when I gave you Numbers 11 and 17, that God will give it to you, and He will blow the breath upon you in order to anoint, give you the ability to anoint others to help you carry it. God showed me, and he's been bringing this back to me. This is the third time he brought this back to me. I don't know what he about to do. It was something he showed me. It was an article. I have not been able to find that article since that night, and I don't believe I still have access to that email that I sent for prayer in relation to. But he showed me this place, and I prayed into it. I sent it to all my prayer warriors. I need y'all to pray for this. And all of a sudden, as of recently, I've been thinking about this building. I'm like, it was stuck up in a legal situation, but I was like, man, that would be so awesome if I could have that. That would make my entire business so much easier. And it's located in the place in which he already told me that I'm supposed to be. It's not in the same city. It's in another part of the city. It's actually located in a place that a friend of mine lives. And I was like, what? And he's bringing it back up. This is about the third time I thought of this building. And I'm like, what you doing, God? Because it's bigger. It's grander. It's more expansive than what normally would have been something I would have thought that I wanted, at least starting out right now. But there are certain things God's doing in my life right now that very well make it possible for me to get that with no problem, if it's meant to be found. Because it's almost like this thing doesn't exist. Even when I found it, it was almost as if it didn't exist, because nobody can find the location of it. If it exists, God knows where it is. I guarantee you, if it exists, God knows where it is. There's a hidden treasure and there's a hidden gem, and I'm going to get it if he keeps bringing it up to me. Because it's like, it keeps moving. We don't know where it is. But I pray that the Lord give me access to the article I saw from a few years ago that showed me this building. I don't even know what I typed in for that thing to show up, but I'm gonna look for it again. It's kind of something like what happened to my coach. It was she had went to this neighborhood in her city many years ago, and she don't know how she got there. She don't know how she drove up there. She don't know in what way in which she used in order to get there. But only a few months back, she went and she found it again. If it's meant and this place exists, I know that the Lord's going to give it back to me. And if it's meant to, He going to give me the actual location. Because I know God, and I trust God like that. What are you willing to let go of? Your preconceived notions, because a lot of us think too small. A lot of us are holding on to things. When I think back to the things that I've been holding on to over the past few years, things that I would store up and store away and store into places because I need this crate of books because I wrote all my notes in it. I need this, that, and the other. I need this storage room full of this 4-foot storage room that has all this stuff in it, only to look back at the photographs that I took of the storage room that had all of my stuff in it and realize that 95% of that stuff was trash. It was only about 5% that if I had been wise, I could have had it with me, but chose not to bring it. But all of it can be replaced. Half of that stuff I already have. What I was meant to keep, I have. That's the way God works. He makes sure you have what you need. And sometimes what you need isn't what you think that you need. You may be sitting there saying, I want the whole house full of stuff. And God's saying, I just need for you to take these 2 suitcases. That's it. But weren't you just saying that God's trying to give you? Yeah. I had somebody reprimand me a few years back because I used to always carry my stuff with me. And when I first got to this location, I was like, no, God ain't going to keep me here that much longer. I'm going to not even worry about that. I'm not going to put my stuff. And I was like, yeah, that's a confirmation because the locker would not open up for me to be able to put my stuff in there. So I'm like, I'm not going to. I'm going to keep carrying it with me. And then I finally was able to put the stuff into the locker. And this particular day, I was talking to this young woman. It was the young woman that took my photos. And she said, God can't give you any more until you put down what you're carrying. You won't realize what He's trying to give you until you put down what you have in your hands. A lot of us are carrying things, holding on to things, keeping things. My coach was saying this even in a broadcast last night. That we think that we got to hold on to the thing in the way in which we think that it should be done. And we're not trusting God that if we let it go, He's going to give it to us bigger, better than what way in which we thought that we were supposed to have it. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Are you understanding what I'm saying? Sometimes we gotta let it go so the Lord can bless us with something better. I'm gonna tell you this story. It was a few years back. I went to a financial conference. And it was the first time I went to this financial conference. I was there for 3 days. It was the first time the Lord blessed me. I was in the middle of a 40-day fast. I was on it was days 15 through 17. No, it was 17 through 19. Because I remember that I got blessed on the 19th day. But in the middle of that, I was listening to them do a presentation on this program. And I said, I want in that program. Lord, let me get into that program. And I remember going outside, and this, you've heard me say this before. When I went outside, I had a breakdown. The Lord sent me two people because I said that I didn't feel like I had anybody that understood what I was going through. The one woman stayed with me for the last 3 hours of that conference. The other woman, she gave me what she needed to give me. She spoke to me in what she needed to speak to me. And the other woman stayed with me. And the other woman's daughter called. And I always remember because she called and her name was Hope. It was Hope calling. At the end of that conference, I walked back in. And the thing that I wanted, it was a program. It was worth $6,000. I had $3 to my card. And I said, Lord, what do you want me to do? I walked up to that counter and I said, I can't do this right now. I'm expecting a payment. Because I always did that with the Lord. I'm like, well, if you're saying it, I'm expecting for you to pay for it. So I have to always tell people I'm expecting a payment. So that woman said, if you're expecting a payment, this is what we're going to do. We're going to give this to you. We don't normally do this. We give this to you. We're going to give it to you. We would have needed you to pay a $6,000 deposit because it was a $80,000 program. We're going to give it to you because you're expecting a payment. You pay us when you're ready. I walked out of there with an $80,000 program. They called me for about 2 to 3 weeks looking for that payment. And I said, Lord, if you want this paid for, then I guess you're going to pay for it because you will let me walk out with it. So I'm assuming that you won't pay for it. And you know what happened? They called me for 3 weeks and then they just stopped calling. I was already logged into the program. Everything happened. I went to the first event locally, to the real estate event. It was an amazing experience. Matter of fact, actually, is the last time the first time I came to stay with my dad locally at the time, because the conference was being held at a hotel around the corner from my dad's house. And I stayed with him that 3 days. That way I didn't have to go and travel back and forth on transit using money. I just walked over there because the hotel was right there. But the blessing in that was the Lord blessed me with something so big. He didn't allow me to maintain it because the next location, they were in Florida, which is funny enough where my coach lives, and he didn't allow me to get on the plane to go, but he allowed me to bless somebody while I was trying to get there, because I wasn't there to get on the plane to go. I was there to bless this person who needed to get to the airport, and I showed them how to get there. God has used me in ways that I cannot explain. God has blessed me in that. But you gotta be willing to let go of your preconceived notions of how this is going to go. God has shown me so much, but I don't know how it's about to happen. But I know that I see that there's an opening coming. And I see it. I see it clearly. It's opening up. I don't know how it's about to transpire. And I'm trying to keep hush on what it is and how it transpires, because I don't know all of the details. But I see something happening, very evident. You gotta trust God. Let go of your preconceived notions. Recently, I don't know how much time I got. Yeah, I got enough time to say this. Recently, a lot of people have been doing this, and I've been sitting there very like, this has been a season where God's been saying, let go, let go, let go, let go, let go. Certain things you are not supposed to let go of. Don't let go of the God ordained spouse that the Lord told you. If the Lord told you that was your God ordained spouse, don't let them go. Because God's preparing to bless you, and the enemy wants to slip in real quick. So don't let him go. Don't let your God ordained spouse go. If the Lord says that's your God ordained spouse, then that's your God ordained spouse. Don't let it go. But what I will say in relation to letting go, I say release it back unto him. God, you're saying this is my God ordained spouse. I release him back unto you whenever you're ready. I'm ready for when you're ready. That's all. I always say that to the Lord. I say that to him all the time. And God gives me little confirmations that he's thinking about me. And I'm like, oh, really? But you let that go. God's saying, I'm going to get you a house. Let it go. God's saying, I'm going to get you that building. Okay, you're bringing it up into my memories. Evidently, you planning to bless me with it, so I'm going to let that go. I remember you have to have an audaciousness. Because the Lord blessed me like that once before, guess what I did? About a year ago, when I first got here to my dad's house, the Lord showed me something in relation to this place. And I was audacious enough that I called the apartment complex. I said, yeah, let me find out. I talked to the realtor and they were telling me, oh, the apartment's available and this, that, and the other. And I was like, oh, they got 5 months of rent free. God, do it. I remember I got off that phone and I cried my eyes out like a baby. But you got to be audacious enough to position yourself to do that. You got to be audacious enough to look up the building. You got to be audacious enough to call. You got to be audacious enough to do. You want a miracle, do something for the Lord to bless. I was audacious enough to go to that airport. I knew I didn't have no money to get on that flight. But guess what? Because I was audacious enough to go, the Lord used me to bless somebody else to get to the airport. Because I was audacious enough. It may not have been the fact that the blessing was for me, but I was able to use my anointing to bless somebody else. Be audacious enough. Let go of your preconceived expectations. Just because I expected that I was going to get on that flight didn't mean that I was. Didn't mean it was time. I have to be willing to follow the Lord's will even if it doesn't go in my direction. Even if it doesn't go in the way in which I thought that it was going to go. How many of y'all willing to do that? Some of y'all wouldn't even be willing to call the apartment complex because y'all know your credit is jacked up. Some of y'all wouldn't be willing to prep for the business or call. I remember I called for a space to run my business out of. I did not have the money for that. But I called and made the arrangements, even got the contract sent to me. Because if God said it, then I guess he gonna bless it. So guess what? This is your will, your bill, God. I guess you're gonna bless this, huh? Are you willing to be audacious enough to let go of your preconceived notions? Let go of how you gonna get the house. Let go of how you gonna get the business building and or rental office. Let go of when your God ordained spouse is gonna come to you and let the Lord surprise you. Because you know what I've been hearing? Surprise. It's gonna be a surprise. It's gonna come suddenly. All this stuff gonna come suddenly. And you know the other thing that I've been hearing? All at once. All at once. All of a sudden and all at once. Your blessing is going to roll out for you as according to Amos 9 and 13. You look upon the hills, and it will be blessing upon blessing upon blessing. Your finances are going to be blessed. Your family is going to be blessed. Your marriage is going to be blessed. Your business is going to be blessed. Blessed, blessed, blessed. Get into position. If that means making the call for the apartment and you don't know whether your credit's going to fly, God could put you in that apartment for nothing because he could give you favor with the people that are involved in that apartment building. If he wants you to have that office, he'll give you favor with the people that are supposed to do it. I was listening to Tiffany Montgomery last night, and she was talking about how she had been praying to the Lord. She has this audaciousness about her that I ain't never seen. If I need encouragement, I go and listen to her. because I know she's the type of person that will go to the Lord, and she said that this is a trigger motion for the Lord. Lord, you said in your word, on earth as it is in heaven. So if you told me in heaven that I was supposed to get this, then guess what? It has to appear on earth. She had a flight that she needed to catch, and she knew that she didn't want to be left at this place all night and have to wait till the next morning to catch a new flight. And she said, Lord, they just said that I couldn't get on this flight because the flight is leaving. How dare that situation happen if you said that I'm supposed to be on that flight? The Lord made that plane. Not only did it turn around, she had went go to sit down and was praying to the Lord, like, Lord, you said. God loves it when you say you said. That plane turned around, taxied back, and got reattached to where it needed to be attached so she could get on that plane. Turns out that the person, they gave her seat to somebody else, and that person acted like a fool because they started drinking, and they ended up getting into a fight with somebody on the flight that fast. And they were going to put that person off the flight. That's why they were coming back, to put the person off the flight. But because it was her seat, she had to run to catch the flight in order to be able to get her seat, because that was always her seat in the first place. There are people sitting in your place, listen to me right now. There are people that are sitting and have been sitting in your place that are being excavated right now. For y'all that have had, y'all been looking at your God-ordained spouse and they've been hooked up with somebody that wasn't they person, because God's been telling you and telling you and telling you and telling you and telling you that that person is your person, and you have seen. If you ain't seen it, you're about to see it. The person that they are with have left. Gone. They ain't there no more. Just Emily released word recently. She was saying they about to walk out the seat. They can't stand there. They can't stand there. They can't stay there. Their purpose was completed because they got your God-ordained spouse to learn a lesson in which he needed to learn, and he is ready to receive you. And guess what? They got to excavate that position. They got to leave that seat. For the word does it not say, I will put men up and I will pull them down. They got to move out your way, move out your seat, move out of your situation and destination. I hear it. We about to come into places, spaces, and seats that we've been waiting for because we've been demonically delayed. And the Lord allowed those delays in order to continue to the process of preparing us for the seats in which He's preparing us for. Opportunities, jobs, finances, money, things that are supposed to come upon the things in which we're supposed to be blessed for. And I was listening to this morning when my coach said it, and it finally made sense. There are things that we've been sitting in these seasons where God's had us in a holding pattern. And you're like, God, why hasn't it not moved yet? Because He needed you to sit right there because the blessing was coming directly to you. I can't talk about what's happened. I've only asked the people to pray in relation to the thing in which it was. My prayer warriors to pray on it.